One of the big perks of training splits is the ability to really fit in refinement movements for exercises. Hey everybody, I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. And a lot of times people say, well, look, on less split training, you can still work some of this stuff in, but you really can't, can you? Meaning you're always going to have a lot of muscles that get neglected. So when we're doing full body training, for example, which is what we usually prescribe to novices, full body 3 days a week, things like that, or sometimes even with an upper lower split, you don't have a lot of room for smaller refinement exercises, because we're having to work with really big exercises, because we have to get out of the gym at a reasonable time. Meaning if you're in the gym for 3 hours straight, it usually is problematic. You're not going to be recovering from that. There comes a point where you're just getting so much fatigue that you're not getting anything out of the smaller movements. So and I think it makes a lot more sense when you look at the full body approach. And again, do not get me wrong, full body is great for building a base on a novice. Like a barbell-based full body program, and maybe just throw in some curls, focusing on just big barbell movements. And we can count the curls a big barbell movement, right? I think we can. But focusing on a handful of big movements every time you come into the gym is a great way to build a base in a novice, because they recover so fast. They don't need a lot of real volume for a muscle to grow. As long as there's progressive overload, novices grow like weeds. So you can come in and have them do, squat, bench, deadlifts, some pull-ups or chin-ups or rows, maybe throw in some barbell curls, overhead pressing. You could throw in something smaller for hamstrings, right? If you need to, if you want a little bit of hamstring, nothing stopping you from doing that. And, that works great. In fact, I would go so far as to say that other than the lack of arms, strong lifts kind of works pretty good for novices. So did starting strength. Again, I think that you need some arm work with some of that, particularly for guys. So I would almost tell people, look, you could run strong lifts and throw in some barbell curls and do just great your first 4 to 6 months in the gym. Absolutely. But we get to a point very quickly to where you are not able to actually focus as much on the other muscles as you get further in. People say, what do you mean? Well, when we start getting our overall fatigue up, what tends to happen, as fatigue climbs from doing the bigger exercises, your nervous system will stop recruiting the upper threshold muscle fibers in later exercises in the workouts. If you've been in there, you've come in and you've done a 5x5 with squats, a 5x5 with some benching. See where we're going with this? You've done, some deadlifts, a set of heavy fives on deadlifts, like on, say, a strong lifts program, right? It's a common setup. You throw in maybe some barbell curls, that's it. Okay, you've done about 14 work sets. Once you start hitting around that, 14, 15 work sets in a workout, particularly if they've been big exercises, you don't have anything left. Your nervous system will start giving out. It's not going to let you come in and really work muscles hard anymore. Stuff is going to just stop firing. And we need to be aware of that now. Some people would say, well, you won't get the fast twitch fibers, you'll get a lot of the intermediate fibers, and they can grow. Yeah, they can grow for a bit as novices, but once you've been training a little while, they'll stop growing for the most part, or they grow at a greatly diminished return. And I've seen data on that showing that the faster twitch fibers are the only ones really growing anymore for advanced drug-free lifters. Okay, so the problem you run into, how much refinement work are you going to do? Okay, because you have a lot of muscles that have whole heads that didn't get stimulated. So let's say you did, those 4 exercises, squat, bench, deadlift, barbell curl. Okay, long head of your triceps got almost no work. Rear delts got almost no work. Side delts got minor work. Okay, so your lats, your calves, your hamstrings, all that stuff got understimulated. But a lot of heads of muscles got understimulated. There's a lot of refinement that got left out. A lot got left out. So the same thing, we go over to an upper lower. Okay, we get a little more mileage, but it's kind of the same thing. We literally run into the same thing. Let's say you're doing an upper lower. What about an upper body day? You've done 3 sets of bench, 3 sets of pull-ups, 3 sets of incline, 3 sets of rows. That's 12 sets of big movements. Yeah, you could do a little refinement work after that. What are you going to do? Maybe 3 sets? Well, you're going to have to pick and choose. Is it going to be triceps? Is it going to be side or rear delts? See where we're going? Because what's going to happen, you've done 12 hard sets on big compound movements. After about that, you're not recruiting much else. So maybe one exercise is going to get trained really hard beyond that. Now, that's an improvement over the other because we can do the same thing on the lower body, you know. We could do some squats, deadlifts, good mornings, you know. And about that point, your lower body is done. Like your nervous system is done. You're not going to get a lot out of your calf work. I mean, you'll get something out of it. You're not going to get a lot out of coming in and trying to isolate the quads and things, because once you've done something like that, you've done about 9 or 10 heavy sets for your lower body, especially with those squats and deadlifts. Again, your nervous system is going to be largely done. So when we go to start splitting the body up into our body part splits, this is where we can really come in and say, well, you know, chest and tricep day, maybe I need to do a bunch of pullovers. Maybe I need to do some work for the long head of my tricep. And it's not going to be that big of a deal. Okay, you've got room for the refinement. Because you've probably only done about 6 to 9 big exercises, right? You know, for say your chest and all your pressing and stuff, you know, you've maybe done at most like 8-9 sets of pressing. Okay, we're not completely exhausted. We can come in and do some smaller stuff that works these muscles at other angles that are being neglected, that works muscles at angles that can hit all of that. Same thing on a shoulder day. Like if you have an actual shoulder day, we can do a big movement or two and then isolate every single head, right? You can isolate every head. You can do some overhead pressing, some upright rows, but then you can still do easily work in 3 isolation movements. You may not need to isolate the front delts if you're overhead pressing, especially if you bench heavy on a different day. But you have room for that. You absolutely have room for that. Same thing when you start doing lower body days, you know, where you're splitting it up. If you have kind of a deadlift day, you have plenty of room left to do a bunch of reverse hypers for the lower back if you need to. You can do all this refinement work because you've probably only done, 6 or 7 heavy sets of big movements. Okay, the nervous system can still continue to work these smaller movements and smaller muscles and more refinement, and we can actually recruit muscle fibers while doing it and really create a good training response. Okay. So that's stuff to think about, and we won't be able to squeeze all these things in if we don't split our routine up. So again, it makes a lot of sense for more advanced lifters to start doing this stuff, right? Even if you go as small as a 3-day split, because you can still fit in refinement for anything you need. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.